But again, the match was a draw. They did this several times, but neither did anybody win the game nor did anyone lose the game. And hence they were unable to decide who would get to marry the beautiful yet newly widowed young lady. So they thought, better ask her for her opinion. And so they did. "Oh, beautiful young lady, who do you wish to marry among us?" She initially hesitated as she was feeling shy, but eventually she said, "I actually like both of you and would like to marry both of you." Now that started real trouble. They just couldn't arrive at the right solution. So they finally thought to give it a last try. Matter of succession. By now, Betal had escaped from Vikram approximately 24 times. And he said, "Now the time is very short. Let me tell you one another story, maybe the last one." Vikram said, "So, do you intend on completing 25 stories?" Betal said, "Yes, and these stories will hence be known as Betal Pachisi. Only time will tell you, O King, how much it has benefited you by listening to all the stories I have told you so far. So, listen to this last one attentively." There were two young men, Madan and Ratan, in an island called Chimera. They were best of friends. One fine day, they went on a business trip and made a lot of profit. On their way back, they sat under a tree to count the remaining inventory of items and the amount of profit they made from the business that day. While they were busy at it, they saw a beautiful woman walk by the tree that they were sitting under. Both of them were taken away by her beauty. They couldn't help but ask her who she was. So they called at her and said, "Oh, beautiful young lady, may we know who you are?" And as soon as they asked her, she broke into tears. They tried to console her, but she wouldn't stop crying. After a while, she finally told them, "I was going along with my husband to the nearby village on some work. While we were on our way, a few robbers robbed us and killed my husband brutally." She took a pause and continued saying, "Now with my husband dead, I have nowhere else to go. I can't go to my parents' house or to the relatives' house, as no one will believe me." She cried some more and added, "I just don't see any solution. I really don't know what to do. And I just don't see the point in living anymore without my husband. I feel it's just best I die." Seeing the lady helpless, Madan and Ratan consoled her and assured her to provide every kind of help she needed. With great difficulty and hours of consoling, the lady agreed to not commit a suicide, rather decided to live. Now, as Madan and Ratan were done with their business for that day, all three of them began on their journey way back to home. On the way, both Madan and Ratan were thinking about the best possible solution that the lady's future had. At one point, Madan came up with a suggestion and said, maybe someone should remarry her. Ratan said, why someone? Why not one of us? Madan asked, but how? To that Ratan said, if you are interested, you should marry her. Or if I am interested, I shall marry her. What do you say? Madan said, yes, I can marry her. But look, we both seem interested in marrying her. So let's play the dice game and decide who will finally get to marry her. Then obviously we won't have any complaints against each other. Ratan agreed to that. So they made a pit stop under the next big tree to begin the dice game. Unfortunately, in the end, the match was drawn. So they began playing once more. But again, the match was a draw. They did this several times, but neither did anybody win the game, nor did anyone lose the game. And hence, they were unable to decide who would get to marry the beautiful yet newly widowed young lady. So they thought, better ask her for her opinion. And so they did. Oh, beautiful young lady, who do you wish to marry among us? She initially hesitated as she was feeling shy, but eventually she said, I actually like both of you and would like to marry both of you. Now that started real trouble. They just couldn't arrive at the right solution. So they finally thought to give it a last try and wrote their names on a piece of paper each and asked her to pick one. She finally picked one, and the piece of paper was named after Madan, and so she was to marry him. Now years went by. They had a child. But after a few years, Madan died in an accident. The woman asked for Madan's share of the wealth from Ratan. Although Madan had no partnership with Ratan, still she asked his share from Ratan. At this point, the Betal asked King Vikram, now tell me, O King, how far was her demand lawful? Vikram said, the matter must have gone to the royal court. To that the Betal said, yes, and I know the judgment also. The king refused her claim, but I want to know what is your judgment. Vikram smiled and said, my judgment? My judgment is that she should get her husband's share. Betal asked, why? Why should she get the share? So Vikram said, it was true that Madan had won her by toss, but still she was the property of both of them. She had the right of the succession. Betal said, you are absolutely right, King Vikram, once again. And he laughed loudly. As the Betal laughed loudly, Vikram became more careful and he held on to him tightly because now his destination was almost near. To that Betal said, don't worry, O king, I shall not run away anymore. I am with you. But King Vikram did not trust him, so he continued to hold him tight. Now when the cremation ground was in sight, Betal said to King Vikram, King Vikram, this yogi is extremely cunning. He intends to kill you. I know his plan. He is going to ask you to prostrate, and when you prostrate before him, he will cut your neck with sword and kill you. So please be careful. King Vikram was surprised to hear this. Although he had this doubt in his mind, he still decided to be more careful. King Vikram came to the yogi with the betal on his shoulder. The yogi was ecstatic and extremely happy to see the betal, and he said to King Vikram, "Bravo, O king, you are really courageous. Now you will rule the entire earth without any obstacles." The yogi then cut the body of betal into pieces and sacrificed it in the fire. He performed some rites, and all this while King Vikram was noticing very, very carefully. He was just standing and being extremely attentive. After all the rites were over, the yogi said, "O king, now you earn favor by prostrating in front of me." King Vikram was eagerly waiting for this moment, as the betal had already warned Vikram of this, and upon doing so, the yogi will kill Vikram. So Vikram said, "I am a king. I do not prostrate in front of anybody." The yogi was surprised to hear this. He said, "Okay, king, then I will prostrate before you." As he bent down to prostrate before the king immediately took out his sword and cut the yogi's head into pieces. As soon as the yogi died, there was a loud laughter echoing in that lonely forest. It was none other than the betal himself. King Vikram was stunned to see betal and exclaimed, "Betal, is that you? Weren't you dead?" Betal explained, "Yes, it is me. So you see, O king, by sacrificing this yogi, you have given me life. If you had not killed him, I would not have been born again." The king took a close look at Betal and noticed how changed he looked. In fact, he was looking quite young and handsome. Vikram wondered and asked Betal, "Now, what are you going to do?" Betal says, "Whatever you order, O king." Vikram said, "Then come and stay with me. I will appoint you as my minister." The betal was extremely happy to hear this and said, "I shall serve you with full honesty, O king." He expressed his gratefulness to King Vikram as he gave him a new life. On their way back to the palace, King Vikram asked Betal, "Who was this yogi and what did he benefit in trying to kill me?" Betal said, "O king, this yogi was my elder brother. He changed me into a betal with the power of black magic. He even abducted my beautiful wife, and now he was after your kingdom, and that is why he wanted to kill you. But since you have killed him, you have saved your kingdom and you have given me a new life. For this, the entire world will remember you forever." With this, the day was about to break, and King Vikram finally returned to his palace, triumphant along with the alive and loyal Betal.